All right, friends, so today we are going to be painting these mini cute little paintings that I did on a commission. So I was asked by someone to make some for some really small frames and just was so excited to try this out. We had a vision based on some of the photos on my Instagram. And so right now I want to show you how I painted these. We are going to do the little centers here. So I've got a really nice pointed brush. I think it's a number 4 round. And I did mark out where I want my centers to be, but don't worry so much. This video is all about letting go of the perfectionism. So if that is something that you struggle with, stay tuned here because I'm going to be sharing some tips on how to let go of that. So, but first of all, we are, doing our centers. I've got the dark ones there, and now we're going to add some green ones as well. For these little mini paintings, they are not going to be the same, but there are variations within it. And there are some parts where if I painted it on one side, I might speed through the other side of it. So we're not doing too much repetition, but still showing you how I was able to create these little guys. So I like to start with the centers first, and then I put the petals in, and that to me just makes sense. I've got my number 6 round brush here, and I'm gonna pull some different colors, some reds, pinks, maybe some yellows, maybe some purples. So we're just going to go from either the top down or sorry, the top to the middle or the middle out, depending on what feels most comfortable for you. So as you're painting this, I want you to remind yourself, this is my tip number 1, that this is just practice, okay? What we're doing, we're practicing for future paintings. There's nothing about this that needs to be stressful. Now, I do realize that I might have had some nervousness here because this was a commission, but I also knew that it wasn't the end of the world if I showed this to the buyer and they didn't like it. That's okay. I could have given them to someone else. My daughter actually said she wanted to keep them. So, and I might have to make her some in the future. These were specific for some tiny little frames from a person who collects vintage frames and resells them with beautiful paintings. So we are just playing today, all right? So when you're thinking that this needs to look a certain way, remind yourself you are just playing, you're just practicing, you're just having fun. So you can see that I'm just kind of making blobs for these little petals. And now what I like to do is I lighten them by dipping my paintbrush in the water, and then I swipe it off the side, and then I dab it on my paper towel so that we don't have too much liquidy paint. So I've started to add in some purple. When I'm doing this, I'm reminding myself I'm just playing here. And for you, this might be the first time that you're painting this. And if it is, congratulations, or painting something like this, I should say. This is clearly the first time you're painting this because this is a new video. We're only assuming. But for you, just if this is the first time you're doing loose florals, congratulations. This might be the 100th time or the 1000th time or feel like the millionth time. Those are hard to say all in a row. But just keeping in mind that, just like when we were kids, we're just playing. And so I am using the belly of the brush sometimes just to press and use that shape. Other times I like to just kind of, sketch around with the brush. We just have fun. We just try different things. So grabbing my green here, I'm going to start connecting things with stems. And I do want to count how many flowers are here because I like to put in the amount of stems, to reflect the flowers. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to do it that way. I don't think most people are going to be pointing to every flower and counting every stem, but I don't know. For me, I like to try to keep it accurate, although it doesn't really matter. So we're putting little splatter here. That is the first layer of this one, and that is good to go. And then we're going to start with our second little composition here. These can make really cute greeting cards, or it could be a gift tag. You can make them smaller. You can make bookmarks out of these as well. I just want to connect some things together. There we go. All right, so now we're going to start with the second one, and we're just, same thing, starting with the centers of the flowers. And, if you have a really thin brush, it's going to help you out. So the second thing to help you to get rid of perfectionism in your art is to change your mindset and remind yourself of what is true. So before we were talking about just trying to play and enjoy and remember it's practice, but maybe there is a specific thing that you can say that will remind you. For example, every time I practice, I get a little better. Reminding yourself, if I get anxious, I can take a break and walk away. Those are some things to tell yourself because your brain is taking over. Your brain is telling you what it wants to, and it's a disaster mode. So sometimes you have to kind of take hold of your brain and just kind of shake it around a little and remind it of something specific. So think about a motto you could have. I paint for fun, or I'm learning, or this practice is helpful, or whatever it is that can be that mindset. Because here's the thing, when you change the narrative, that thought in your head, it automatically changes how you feel, which automatically changes how you behave. So if you're telling yourself good thoughts and you have a good motto, then your painting is most likely going to turn out a lot better. And at least you're going to be more content with your progress than being so hard on yourself. So the third thing I recommend here, as I am stippling in the centers to make them big and fancy, is to paint often. So if you don't paint often, you're not going to have a lot of practice and you're going to feel nervous. Now, this is something that I can attest to as well. For as much as I post on social media, I'm on Skillshare and YouTube and all the things, I can struggle. If I get out of my painting habit, those thoughts start to creep in and I start to think, maybe I don't know what I'm doing. Maybe I kind of forgot my skills. I get nervous about it. The perception is that, I'm a little rusty and, maybe I have no new ideas. Maybe I'm running out. And so I've got to, again, get back to that narrative. I've got to remind myself this is just play and practice. I've got to tell myself that I can do this, that I could be a little rusty, but it's okay. I'll be fine. And then I have to make sure that I am saving time for myself to do this. Now, this is not a stressful thing. I love painting. If it feels stressful, you shouldn't force yourself because you're going to hate the process, I should say. But if you want to get better and you are committed to practice, set aside the time. Most people feel guilty setting aside the time because they're just like, I'm too busy. I have to take care of people. How am I going to fit this in? So 5 or 10 minutes, a couple times a week, set your alarm, put it on your calendar. And 5 minutes turns into an hour sometimes, and you're just happy-go-lucky. So try to take time for you and specify when that will be. And the fourth way to get perfectionism out of your life and your art is to use cheap supplies. So often I hear artists saying you have to use 100% cotton paper, professional watercolor brushes, supplies, paint, all the things to experience the best results. So I do agree that your results will be more optimal, might look better with those professional supplies. However, you can do a great job with student grade stuff. And if you can only afford like the kids' craft paints, papers, whatever, then use that. I don't want you scared to paint and waste supplies, sitting in front of expensive paper and paint, not knowing if you can even move forward because you're afraid to mess up. So rather than that, use the good stuff for when you're feeling like you're confident and you're feeling good. If you've got the budget, that's fine. But also be okay with using the stuff that doesn't cost as much if it helps to motivate you to let go of thinking everything needs to look perfect. Enjoy the journey, guys. Enjoy the process. And as you're finishing up these beautiful marks here, take a breath. Happy mental health.